on-ramp 2024 fellowship proposals for the 2024 cohort. I am Jordan Adams, the Artist Services Program Manager here at the Indiana Arts Commission, and Victory Sampson is our current Programs and Grants intern. He is joining us today as our co-moderator and note taker, and Gwendolyn Pickett, our Communications Manager, is here with us as our tech help. Today is Thursday, August 15th. The panelists are meeting on Zoom and the public is observing on YouTube.
At this time, we would like the panelists to introduce themselves, stating their name, occupation, and where they are currently located. Let's go ahead and start with Jazz.
Good morning. My name is Jazz Ehrenberg. I am a public artist and public arts consultant for the city of Baltimore, Maryland, which is also where I reside.
Lovely. And let's go ahead with Mariah.
Good morning. My name is Mariah Ivy. I'm a writer and musician, and I serve at the Madam Walker Legacy Center.
Amazing. Now let's go ahead with Joel.
Hi, my name is Joel Tucker. I'm a professor of music at Ball State University in Muncie, Indiana, and I live in Indianapolis, Indiana.
Amazing. Alrighty, thank you everyone for joining us today. This panel is designed to gather feedback that will help the applicant strengthen their fellowship.
I'm so sorry, Victory. I do want to make mention of Shata Marsh of Big Car Collective, who was also a panelist for today's applications. Although she is unable to be present with us during the panel, her feedback has been considered in what we'll consider later on. So sorry, Victory. Thank you.
Absolutely fine. I didn't know whether we were okay. Amazing. All right. Once again, this panel is designed to gather feedback that will help the applicant strengthen their fellowship project to advance their career. The discussion will also help ISC staff identify any important modifications applicants may be required to make to their fellowship project before moving forward.
Thank you again, Victory. I will announce the application we will review. I'll ask the first reader to begin the discussion. The first reader will provide advice to strengthen the fellowship project, focusing on the evaluation criteria from their perspective. Panelists, please note that the applications do not need to be recapped since all of you have read it. Just provide your comments. After the first reader is finished, I will ask the second reader to present any new, additional, or differing comments. We are not looking for a consensus. We want the applicant to receive excellent advice from the different perspectives that you all bring to the table. After the second reader has finished, I will open the floor for more discussion and comments. Remember, in the interest of time, we are only looking for new, additional, or differing viewpoints. If a panelist has a conflict of interest, that panelist will be placed in the virtual waiting room when the application is being discussed. We don't have any conflicts today, so that won't be a need. However, finally, once the application has been discussed by the full panel, we ask the panel to update their comments in the online system. It's common for your recommendations to change because of this broader discussion. These changes do save automatically. Are there any questions? Alrighty, let's begin. We'll start with our first application, on-ramp 2024 Ziliak, and our first reader is Jazz.
So I'm just gonna read through my feedback. Okay. So I think the clear goals have been, and then a creative career has been identified and solidified. The applicant has been working in publishing and in writing for a while, and so that's sort of, it makes sense. It sounds feasible. I liked that the content of the book was being extrapolated into lesson plans. It shows that some market research has been done. I think the budget definitely looked feasible, though I did have a question about how funds are still left over. I'm sure you'll be addressing that. And then for the community engagement section, it seems to me that the applicant has been working with the identified community that they're proposing to engage. And so I guess my question would be, or my note would be that I don't necessarily see that new relationships with new communities will be made through this. because they are, proposing to work within the same community that they have been already. But overall, it seems like a really great project.
Awesome. Thank you, Jazz. Mariah?
Yes, Ziliak. I think you explained the project pretty well. I would only add that you possibly just around it's actually engage their interests and needs to make sure what you're doing is wanted and needed within that particular community.
Awesome. Thank you, Mariah. Do we have any additional or differing comments? Okay. Seeing that we have none, please finalize your comments in the online system and take some time to move to our next applicant, which will be on-ramp 2024 Johnson. Mariah, whenever you're ready, please lead that discussion.
Okay. Melody. Your project is ambitious. It's ambitious, but it's great. I love the direction, the focus, wanting to pull in new equipment and engage young people, which I think is something necessary. I would say make clear your exact direction a little bit more. You mentioned equipment, weekly, bi-weekly engagement, curriculum, annual, semi-annual courses, multiple venues. So I think simplifying that so you can really be clear about how to spend those funds would be great. Maybe narrowing it down to 1 to 2, maybe 3 goals for this project. I would also say think a little bit more about how you plan to attract and engage the community. How will various programs learn of the curriculum that you're designing? So thinking through some more of those marketing strategies, how will people sign up, how the project will engage students, youth, and parents. So just spending a little bit more time on the engagement.
Amazing, thank you. Joel?
Hi. Yeah, I agree with that the application it's really well thought out for community engagement, identified a target audience and all that. I think that it might be nice to consider adding a section of potential challenges or risks, consider those potential issues with securing partnerships, logistical challenges, or participant engagement. That would just be something to think about, especially with the budget. You might want to also increase the budget for this project, in my opinion. But overall, I think, yeah, it was great. And I agree with everything that Mariah said. So.
Awesome, thank you so much. Do we have any additional or differing viewpoints or comments? Alrighty, thank you guys. Take some time to finalize your comments and moving to our next application, which will be on-ramp 2024 Bornstein. So sorry. And our first reader there will be Mariah.
Okay, Bornstein, 2 red comments. It's innovative, it's exciting. I think you have very bold ideas and topics that could potentially engage people beyond even the art world. And so I would say consider that in your community engagement strategies. Yeah, I think that's really all I'll say. Take a little bit more time to beef up the community engagement and think through how you're curating these events and pulling folks in.
Awesome, thank you for that. Jazz?
So the only thing I'll add is about the community engagement piece, where it's sort of specifically stated that they're working with specific artists already. And so I guess I would have just liked to see a little bit more about future plans to open that up if there's like an open call situation, like how you're connecting with these new artists, I think could definitely strengthen the outreach that you have with the exhibitions.
Thank you. Joel, did you have anything to add? Okay, awesome. Alrighty, take some time to finalize your comments. Take some time to open our next application, which is On-Ramp 2024 Hall. Our first reader here will be Joe.
All right. I think the application outlines long-term goals of establishing art studio and collaborating with major corporations. But I think it could be a little clearer on the steps to take to connect with the project's goals with these long-term objectives of how paint and plant workshops will specifically help building the brand or securing collaborations with larger entities. I just think maybe thinking broader, but I love the idea of it. The community engagement sounds really good, but detailing the specific demographics or communities targeted and how the project aligns with their needs or interests, that could strengthen the aspect of that too. The application clearly outlines partnerships, the national hookup of Black women, local plant shops, wellness vendors, but how these relationships will be built and maintained could be a little bit just thinking about that, how those are built specifically. But I think that those are great communities to be part of. And then I just think maybe, how the relationships built through the project will be maintained for the future, past what just the project is for. So like thinking long-term and big with this one, because I love it so much. So I think that those were my main points on this one. So
Awesome, thank you so much. Jazz.
I think the only thing I'll add is that in the budget, I didn't see a workshop fee. I only see vendor fees. So thinking about if there's a workshop fee, if you're producing this for free, that'll be my main question.
Thank you so much. Mariah, do you have any additional comments?
Yes, I think this project and the idea is awesome. I would love to see it happen. I would just think through feasibility a little bit more, specifically about capacity and funding. So a couple of clarifying questions. I know you've outlined marketing strategies to engage and increase your audience. What existing subscriber base are you pulling from? Are there any particular partners, artists, DJs that you've engaged to kind of gauge pricing now? And then possibly consider building in a small staffing budget or volunteers to help manage those inquiries and registrations, since a lot of your marketing will be conducted via email, socials, but overall, solid.
Thank you so much. All right, take some time to finalize your comments and move to our next applicant, which is On-Ramp 2024 Smith. Our first reader is Jazz.
So this for this project, I think it's a really great way to connect with new people. The specific goals have definitely been set. It will they have a clear path forward, a strong brand, and a specific niche has been identified, which I think is really great. Feasible, balanced budget. I didn't have any questions about that. And for community engagement, it seems to me that they really understand who their work is meaningful to, which can be hard to identify sometimes. And the applicant, I think I think I have a little bit of trouble classifying community engagement as people attending an event. And so I would love a little bit more intention built into that. Though it does seem mutually beneficial, relationships are very evident, and they have definitely identified who their work is meaningful to.
All right, thank you so much. Mariah?
Yes, it seems like you have a clear route and goal in mind. I would just bring a little more clarity to what you mean by 50% ticket sale proceeds, the raising over $3,000, and a little bit more about the context of the event. So I think I wasn't clear on a few things.
Thank you. Joel, do you have any additional or differing comments?
Sure. The only thing that I would say, I know the application states that the project will run until December 13th. It outlines major tasks. It would benefit from a more detailed timeline on which each specific task will be completed. So like the procurement of materials, finalizing partnerships, and promoting the event. I think that would just benefit this, just having that in mind, like when each one's going to be done or completed by. Yeah. Aside from that, the cost of the Idea Factory preservation memorial, it's significant. It would be helpful to break down into more specific activities and time allocations to ensure clarity. That was the only note I had about the budget. So
Awesome, thank you so much. Alrighty, finalize your comments. Go ahead and move to our next applicant, which is on-ramp 2024 Carr. And the first reader is Mariah. Yes, yes. I had to make sure I'm right.
No worries. Second here. Okay, so this applicant, love the idea, very clear, concise. I had a few outstanding questions, such as, is there already a show topic in mind for the solo exhibition? And are there any particular venues, partners in mind as well? Just so you can start, getting a little bit more clear and defining the goals. I'd encourage you to think through where and how the funds are being allocated. Currently, there is no cost allocation for the venue in your project. So consider allocating some funds to that, as well as some materials and supplies based on how much venue space you aim to. And then I would think through some of the needs as well, such as like, is an event planner needed or a marketing person, and how you plan to kind of spread forward a little bit more with your community. And that, I think, sounds like a solid idea.
Awesome, thank you, Mariah. Joel?
yeah, sure. I agree with everything that Mariah said. I think that some notes that I made, providing more detail on how the cost, it seems like the budget is kind of low. If you just adjust the budget and calculate for, like you said, like a venue, the actual needs of this project could be met. And the risk management, it'd be helpful to outline any potential risks or challenges and how they'll be managed, such as contingency plans if attendance or sales targets are not met for that. So how could that be counteracted? And then the application outlines basic community engagement plans, which I think is great, but adding specifics on targeted outreach to local organizations, schools, or community groups could strengthen that section. But it's the basics are there. Detailing how these groups will be involved and how their feedback will be used could enhance the depth of the community engagement, though, in my opinion. And then yeah, everything else I think was touched upon by Mariah. So yeah.
Thank you so much. Jazz, do you have anything? Okay. Awesome. Finalize your comments. And we can move to our next application, which is on-ramp 2024 Carlstrom. And our first reader there is Mariah.
Okay, so for Carlstrom, first let me say I always think it's awesome when creatives like to travel to learn more and engage with other communities. So love the idea of kind of submerging yourself into a new environment to connect with people. I would love more clarity about how you plan to maximize this opportunity. Because you can go to this convention and show up to listen and take notes. Maximize it and really capitalize on your time with meeting storytellers, writers. And then the only other thing I'll note is you have given an idea of who you plan to share this information with when you return. And I would just encourage you to expand that a little bit more, cast a wider net. Who else should come to the table? Who else is doing work in the field of publishing and storytelling in Indiana? And how will they market this? How will you market this reflective component? So just pulling in some more folks, thinking a little bit broader about who you connect with post the event.
Thank you. Jazz.
Yeah, the only thing I'll add is that a clear timeline hasn't been thought out yet, or it's not reflected in the application at least.
Thank you. Joel, did you have anything to add?
I wrote something down for the expenses. So the estimated expenses for attending the convention, flights, hotel, badge seem appropriate, but a more detailed budget breakdown could be beneficial. So including any additional costs to the project, such as like promotional materials or other logistical needs. Manageability could be addressed more comprehensively by detailing how the applicant will balance the convention with their novels, final edits, and the community engagement activities planned upon returning from the convention. This would just help sure that all the aspects of the project are realistic within the given time frame and resources. Just so something to consider with that.
Thank you so much. All righty. Finalize your comments, please, and take some time to move to our next applicant, which is on-ramp 2024 Fish. And our first reader there is Joe.
Okay. Okay, great. All right, I got pulled up. Okay, the long-term creative career goals are outlined. I think that especially with that, with anything like this, that those could be probably just a little bit more detailed, clarifying how securing a studio space and offering art classes fits into the broader vision of sustaining yourself as an artist. For instance, describe how these steps will contribute to your career growth, such as expanding your client base or increasing your visibility in the art community. Just being like super clear about that. The goals are also very good, and I think that they were very clearly outlined, but I think that to strengthen them, specify measurable outcomes for the project, indicate how many classes you plan to offer, for instance, or the target number of participants for each class, the specific goals for each class. So clear goals will help us assess the project's success. So if you say you have this class and 2,000 people show up, you don't have the amount of materials you need for instance, that. And the goals are very ambitious, which I think is great. If they're provide more detail on how you plan to manage the space, handle class administration, balance the artistic work. But everything about this is so good. These are just things that popped up while I was reading through it. Exploring who the work is meaningful to. So while the project will engage participants in art classes, the application I think that maybe just explaining who you think will be there, So the demographic communities you aim to connect with beyond just general public participation. So specific groups or organizations in your area that could benefit from having an interest in surreal collages or floral murals. But these are just things that I love the application and I love the artwork too. So
Thank you. Jazz?
I had questions about this mainly. I think that the goal was a little unclear for me because I think there are two goals here actually. One being get a studio and one being do workshops, and they don't necessarily have to be tied. And so thinking about that, uh the budget, is that true though? I think that's not true anymore. My question is, I guess, what are the, like, how are you planning on structuring these workshops? Like who's the demographic, right? Like workshops for students, elementary school kids is definitely going to be different than workshops you have for adults and what surrounds that, right? Also, if you're working to find a studio that's within this budget, it's really going to limit how many people you can have at a time. You're also going to have to think about, if you're doing this in your space, event insurance for your space. And I didn't see that in the budget. So I think, yeah, my main question is maybe clarify. I think we're looking at two different goals here. And so that my feedback's basically on like, which one are we doing? But I think they're great goals. I think within the budget though, you can really only accomplish one.
Thank you. Mariah, did you have anything to say?
Yes, just a few questions that I think will kind of support the feasibility and community engagement pieces. And so I wanted to know if the studio space was a one-time cost or if this was a monthly cost. And you noted a partner. So is Little Bear partnering with you on this to provide the space, or will the funds be kind of startup funds? So just some things to think about there. And then in terms of your community engagement, love the idea of an art class. Will it be free and accessible, or is this a ticketed event? How many people will it be able to accommodate? And how will you create awareness around it? So just some more things to think through as you're finalizing your budget direction.
Thank you for that. All righty. Go ahead and finalize your comments. Take some time to move to our next application, which is on-ramp 2024 Radcliff. Yes. And Jazz, you are our first reader.
This project seems really cool. Throwing multidisciplinary events can be really difficult. So I love all the thought that's been put into this. I think it's very thorough, and it's obvious that they have experience doing this already. I did have a question about increasing. So they mentioned that they wanted to increase the number of artists and vendors by 50%, but they didn't give a metric like what the baseline was. So I just to get a better idea of like the size of the event, I think that would be helpful. And then for community engagement, I was super happy with this super robust community engagement. Really happy to see that they understand that throwing this event for the community it isn't in itself conducting community engagement. So very happy with that. Great work.
Yeah. Mariah?
I agree. Solid idea, solid plan. I would consider adding additional costs to your staffing for artist fees, since the event is pretty robust and there are a lot of moving parts other than completely doable.
Thank you. Joel, did you have anything?
just one little quick thing. So that I thought the application outlined the various roles of individuals involved, artists, volunteers, etc. I think how the workload could be distributed, like how the team will be managed, something to be to think about. The mechanisms for coordination and communication among the team members could be added, or just something to think about if this happens. It would demonstrate that the project is not only ambitious but also realistically manageable. So that's the only thing I had to add to it.
Awesome. Thank you. Okay, finalized comments. We are moving swiftly. We have 2 applicants left. Our next application is on-ramp 2024 Moses. And our first reader there is Mariah. Mariah, whenever you're ready.
Okay, Moses, this project um, is new, also very creative and exciting. I think it pulls in a variety of elements and it's something really refreshing. So as I noted, that it's innovation. I would say the goals are a bit wide ranging. So maybe consider incrementally outlining your goals, especially to ensure everyone, especially the folks funding it, are clear about your most present request, and how we can help push that forward. But the concept was promising and the work samples are strong. Let's see here. I would encourage you to incorporate community engagement strategies within the tasks you've outlined. Other than that, I love the idea and I think you should totally move forward.
Thank you. Listen, I'm lost. Joel.
Yeah. So feasibility, I thought that was really great. So the achievement of project goals and activities, the timeline for the project's well structured, the budget outline and application is appropriate and reasonable, in my opinion. The project is well within the capacity of the applicant and involved parties. I thought the application presents a comprehensive plan that address the aspects of the feasibility, demonstrating clear understanding of the project and the goals. Yeah. Aspire to teach, perform nationally bouncing community-based classes with larger scale performances. I think this is really great. So, and I agree with everything that Mariah said too. So,
Thank you. Jazz, did you have anything to add?
Yeah, I was really excited to read this application. I think this project is really awesome. I did have one question about the budget, looking at if there's any overhead fees for selling tickets online or if that's covered by the ticket buyers, and also if, and I'm ignorant to this, but it just came up. What does event insurance for something like this look like? Right, so working in that public space, walking around, so just maybe look into it.
For sure. Thank you for that. Alrighty. Finalize your comments, please. And move to our last application for today. Victory, would you like to say our last application?
Yes, on-ramp 2024 Douramacos.
Thank you. And our first reader is Mariah.
Awesome. Okay. So I'm just gonna hit a few sections really quickly. So in terms of your goals, I think one of your main goals is to grow your visibility. So I would like to know a little bit more about how you plan to achieve that, such as your strategies, your partners, your marketing tools, to get some of those outcomes. And then will any of the funds be allocated to those strategies aside renting space? It seems like the bulk of the budget will go toward image licensing for the book. So you may want to identify venues that fall within the budget range you've already allocated, especially because you're planning 2 separate launching. So you want to just think through those costs a little bit more. And then in terms of your community engagement, it looks like Most of your previous connections have been made through curated launch events. So you may want to consider how you attract those audiences and meaningfully engage with potential readers and customers. So what new things are you doing? What new strategies are you implementing? Will these launch events be private, ticketed, free, open to the public? Will you host or facilitate workshops, book clubs, just additional ideas? Possibly vending at local book fairs and other events to grow your brand as well. So just give a little bit more thought to your marketing engagement strategies and your costs.
Thank you. Jazz?
So I think for the goals, I had okay, it seems like they haven't identified a concrete way to measure the impact of their goal. We don't have any metrics right now about how many readers they have or how many people, how many book buyer, how many books they've sold. So to give them a metric like that would be helpful, especially if I think, if I understand correctly, that the project goal is to grow that number. Another helpful metric would be maybe number of bookstores that you already carry their work or that they will be reaching out to. And then I think, again, I guess I won't repeat what Mariah said, but agree about community engagement.
Joel, did you have anything to add?
Let's see. I thought the applicant's plans to build new relationships with local business owners, and potential readers, that's a really good aspect of this. But I agree with everything that was already said. So that was the only thing that I would add to it.
Thank you. All righty. That completes today's panel discussion. Thank you so much to my lovely panelists. I appreciate your conciseness and constructive feedback. To our creatives watching and or supporting those that were reviewed today, just a couple of things as far as next steps. Again, today's panel, yesterday's panels, this week's panels are for support, feedback, mentorship, consideration of all of this great advice and expertise that you've received. But myself, I will go through the feedback that we have received and determine what is required to modify, if anything, for your project to move forward to funding and implementation. With that being said, I'll need a couple days to go through that and determine what's required. That will be put into a next steps form, and it will shoot you what is needed, as well as contract information, all that jazz, all that fine print. Again, I will follow up in an email, even about what I'm saying right now. No worries, no need to freak out. I will work with you to receive that feedback, work on that feedback, and continue on next steps, okay? But if you want to reach out to me ahead of that email and that next steps form, feel free to reach me via email or phone, and we will be in contact. Alrighty. Thank you so much. Panelists, can you please stay on?
All right, our stream